Hello again, everyone. Edwin Laird back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Saturn making a square opposition or inconjunct aspect to one's natal midheaven. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Saturn, this could be about limitations, restrictions, responsibilities, duties, delays, obstructions, sorrow, despondency, fears, and inhibitions. Now, when I say I mean when you basically have transit Saturn making an adverse aspect to one's natal midheaven. Well, I'm going to elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, what this is I mean the squares and oppositions in astrology, of course, they are negative and adverse aspects. Now, an inconjunct is neutral, but an inconjunct can have positive and negative qualities to it. And an inconjunct aspect often requires an adjustment, a transition, which of course can cause some exasperation and tension. So when I say collectively, basically, I see this as an adverse aspect. Now, again, when transit Saturn is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal midheaven, well, it may manifest in limitations, restrictions, responsibilities, duties, delays, sorrow, despondency, fears, and inhibitions that may conflict with one's career. Um, if the midheaven is in Scorpio, it might be a career that might be in insurance or tax examiner, working as a coroner or surgeon or investigation. Um, if you have, the midheaven is also, I would say, connected with laborious work. The midheaven does correspond with the zodiac sign Capricorn and Saturn. Oddly enough, in this transit, you're having the planet that's connected with the midheaven making an aspect to it at this time. So sometimes it could be, I could say this might actually be expressed in, it could be an ambivalence over a possible career decision, because Saturn can be associated with the career, but so can the midheaven. I would say, especially if the transit is in opposition, you could feel like you're in this perpetual tug of war between one career and another. Say if you have Leo and Aquarius involved in an opposition transit, you could have the one career with Aquarius where it's more where you're doing more for the collective good, like something with altruism or humanitarianism, where you're basically blending in with the group. And then if you have Leo on the opposite end, of course, is just the opposite. It could be a career that's more about entertainment, where you're standing out, you're shining, you're getting some kind of notoriety, exposure, and recognition. So uh, another thing too, the midheaven is connected with laborious work. So it can be where it could be matters with the father or an authority figure, or older people might conflict with some kind of laborious work that you might have to do at this time. If you're, doing, say, if the midheaven is in Taurus, it might be some work with cultivating or gardening or, agriculture. The dominant midheaven is also connected with the dominant parent, which is generally the father. So it might be at this time there might be some difficulties that you might be going through that are connected with the dominant parent. It may be, some cases, it may be some responsibilities or some kind of work that you have to do may conflict with activities with this person, the dominant parent, at this point in time. Um, it could also be a time too, or maybe you might even be seeing, this person, the dominant parent, which is often the father, or older people, authority figures, in a more negative light at this time. You might be a little bit more pessimistic and negative regarding these people in your life at this time. And the thing is too, uh, the midheaven can be about authority and attaining authority as well. It could be authority figures, but it could also be about trying to attain a position of authority. You might find at this time that it might trying to attain some kind of position of authority. Say if you're in a subordinate or subservient position at your job, trying to attain a higher position, management level position, if that's what you're striving for at this time, might be a little bit harder to do than usual. And also, the midheaven is associated with notoriety, exposure, and recognition. So it might require more work at this time to do so, or you may simply have some kind of responsibilities that might conflict with this at this time. It might be, or it could just be some kind of work that you have to get done at this point in time. Say if the transit Saturn is in Scorpio, there might be some matters with insurance or taxes that have to be taken care of, or even a crisis that you may have to deal with that may conflict with trying to gain some kind of exposure or recognition or some status for something at this time. And anyway, midheaven is also associated with one's stature in life and social status. So this could be a time where it might be if you're trying to improve that, your stature in life and social status, how you stack up with other people, it might require more of an effort at this time. You might feel there's some kind of roadblocks, or there might be some kind of delay in connection with this at this point in time, or you might feel there's some limitations, maybe whether it could be something of a physical hindrance, as an example. Sometimes it could be, Saturn is also connected with chronic illness. So in some, I might be isolated cases, it could be that a chronic illness or some debilitating illness may be conflicting with you trying to attain, some kind of better place in your life where you might be making more money and you stack up better with others. Now, midheaven is also connected with responsibilities, I would say, because that's the midheaven corresponds with the zodiac sign Capricorn astrology and Saturn. So at this time, since Saturn is connected with responsibilities as well, you might feel conflicted between some duties for one thing and then maybe perhaps some duties in some other part of your life at this time. And it might be, sometimes this could manifest in like some work overload situation, because you may be torn between having to do one thing or another, and this is why this aspect can have certain tension in it. Now, the midheaven is also associated with our achievements and our accomplishments. So these are things that you might have to work harder to actually attain at this time if you're trying to accomplish something, whether it's career related or what have you. It could be just finishing some project or some endeavor. These things might require a little bit more work on your part at this time. Maybe it might require working longer hours to do this. There may be more delays in this than usual. And also too, now the midheaven is also associated with that side that you can have very difficulty in suppressing. You may not be able to suppress. And yes, the ascendant is that dominant part of us that really, that's easily expressed, and that could be hard to hide. But the thing is, the difference with that and the midheaven, the midheaven is with our public image, and it's that side we may show that we may not be, that we just have difficulty suppressing. The ascendant may come out, is going to come out more in the chart, but the midheaven is still something where that side that it could be very difficult to hold back. Remember, it's the point opposite of the fourth house cusp, and the fourth house cusp, it represents what we do when no one's around in our home. And so anyway, the thing about it is, it could be where you might have a father or authority figure, an older person that might be averse to that side. You have difficulty in suppressing. Say if the midheaven is an Aquarius, it might be some idiosyncratic tendencies or some kind of rebellious side or non-conforming energy that you may have difficulty holding back, and you might have the father or older person or an authority figure might be really against it at this point in time. And now another thing, another way this transit may manifest, it might be where one may be apprehensive in matters regarding one's career. Say, for example, if the natal midheaven is an Aquarius, it might be a career that you might be contemplating in meteorology astronomy, astrology, computers, electronics, innovation as some examples. Hold on a moment. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now at this time as well, it may be more of a laborious effort to take care of responsibilities. Now, say if the natal midheaven is in Taurus, it might be something with banking or finance, cultivation, gardening as some examples. Uh, Also, too, this transit may be expressed in a father or an authority figure. Maybe, again, I'll reiterate what I said previously, a father or authority figure may be, or an older person, may be averse to that side that you can't suppress, or have difficulty in suppressing. Now, if the natal midheaven is in Aries, as an example, it could be very combative or abrupt or aggressive, or even acerbic side that you might have trouble holding back. I had a prominent family member that has a Cancer ascendant, but her midheaven is in Aries, and she was just notorious for, being disputatious, fighting. She got into a number of disagreements with people in fast food restaurants, and showed acerbic quality. So even though she had really more of a more timid, passive, Cancer rising, she had that Aries midheaven. I think a lot of that played a role that figured prominently in in her having a more combative side, disputatious side that was not was hard to hold back. Now, another thing is that responsibilities may conflict with attaining recognition. Now, let's say if the midheaven is in Sagittarius, it could be trying to attain recognition in sports or advertising, or being a motivational speaker. It might be something connected, with foreign connections, or, translation, or just doing something in another country. Another thing too is that a chronic illness may conflict with activities with the dominant parent at this time, which is generally the father. Now, let's say, for example, if the transit Saturn is in Capricorn, it might be some problems you may be having with the knees, the bones, the joints, the hamstrings. If transit Saturn is in the zodiac sign Cancer, it might be something with the ribs, the stomach, the chest or breast area. Anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Leonard saying stay well.